Başlayabiliriz. O şu an kapalı. Düğmesine basar.
Şu anda tamam. Evet. Başlıyorum. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants of UNFCCC's 27th Contracting of Parties meeting. Welcome to Turkish Pavilion. I would like to greet you on behalf of the Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change of Turkish Republic. My name is Önder Gürpınar. I'm working at the Department for Air Management at the DG Environmental Management of the Ministry. And our department has another important issue called cycling roads and micromobility. And now we are gathering the side event called Green Transition in Transportation, Mobility in Transportation, Cycling and Micromobility. And in this event we have two participants, one virtual and one physical participant with us. First, I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Erdem Özer, who's an environmental expert at the Transport and Mobility Division. Yes, Erdem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Önder, for giving me the floor. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make a presentation on... by the way, can you hear my voice properly?
Erdem, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a presentation on green transition in transport and a popular subject, which is micromobility. It's getting importance in the recent years due to the climate change and therefore with transport impacts on climate change, therefore cycling, walking and scooter are getting importance in Turkey as well. So according to Turkey greenhouse emission inventory of Turkey that was submitted to the United Nations framework for climate change, 16.1 of total carbon emissions are from the transport sector and 9% is occurring from road transport in Turkey. If you look at the fuel type, 73% is occurring from diesel vehicles, 12% from LPG type of fuel, and 8% is only from gasoline type fuels. Climate change action plan of Turkey was published in 2010 and 28 actions that could mitigate greenhouse emissions in transport sector were analyzed. Only 13 by greenhouse gas reduction model. By considering these actions, it is understood that until 2050, 13% of reduction can be achieved. Actually, this is not very ambitious value, but taking into account the recent developments, this value can be increased in the near future. So what kind of actions can be taken, such as electric cars promotion of more cleaner vehicles with city centers and two-wheeled vehicles, also access to rail system by bicycle and two-wheeled vehicles promotion, and also in the recent years public transport is getting importance. In the next slide I will show the emissions of the public transport. Increase in modal share of railway and seaways can be possible, and the emerging technology is hydrogen fuel. It can be possible in the near future. In the literature, scientific literature about effect of cycling on air quality and climate change, we can find European Cycling Federation published by Hitchcock and Vedran on 2014. and it's about simulation, a change in model share of cycling for 5 European cities and predicts air quality levels by analysis. So by 23% increase in cycling model share will cause significant air pollution reduction in the surrounding air of the cities. So the values are varying, like 16 to 27% reduction of nitrogen oxides and 4 to 19% reduction of PM10 in the cities can be achieved. Therefore, this is very important. And also, if a person commutes 20 kilometers per day by bicycle, saves 1,500 kilogram carbon dioxide each year. Therefore, it shows the climate change effect of bicycle usage. And in this picture, you can see emission of per vehicles, emission by vehicle type, such as the car can emit 271 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer, whereas a bus, which is a public transport vehicle, only emits 101 gram of carbon dioxide per kilometer. If you look at bicycle, actually it has negligible amount of carbon dioxide emissions. An important point now I will tell you is the Turkey Cycling Road Network Master Plan, and it was prepared in 2019 to achieve cycling roads aiming tourism, trekking, traveling, and transport between cities. The Cycling Road Master Plan covers 2 destinations. In the blue line, you can see the Anatolian corridor, and in the western part of the Turkey, the red line shows the coastal corridor. In total, its distance is 3,165 kilometers. Preparation of implementation project of cycling track for step 1, 1,700 kilometer long Anatolian corridor, job that covers the interurban part of the master plan is completed. So the next step is to construct the step 1. A protocol was signed in 2020 between Ministry of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change and TOKİ, which is a government body on construction works for the implementation project of cycling track for step 1. The first step includes the master plan, includes Kocaeli, Yalova, Sakarya, Bolu, Ankara route, and also Bursa, Bilecik, Eskişehir, Ankara. And the last route is Ankara, Konya, Nevşehir, Kayseri, which includes Cappadocia region, and it's a very popular touristic destination. This project plans has been completed. 1,070 kilometers in total plan taking into account development plan requirements as 550 kilometer cycling path, 650 kilometer shade cycling road, and 500 kilometer cycling lane. If we look at the cycling usage rates, the ratios are different for countries, but Netherlands is coming at the top with a high user rate. Turkey has a low ratio of bicycle usage, but it can be attributed to the geographical conditions. Netherlands is a flat country, but Turkey has some mountainous areas as well. But also we are improving our cycling roads, such as in Konya province. You can see in the top picture there's a bicycle bridge, and also in the bottom part there's a tram for bicycles, which we believe it's the only example in the world. Cycling activities, infrastructure roads has in the beginning phase in Turkey. Actually, we started to work as Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Urbanization and Climate Change in the recent years. However, we have also cycling roads that connects the Eurovelo route in Izmir. So we are trying to improve these routes in Turkey. What kind of program and targets are included? In the 11th development plan, environmental transport modes will be developed, and engineless transport modes in urban areas will be promoted. 3,000 kilometer cycling road, 3,000 kilometer green walking path, 60 kilometer environmental friendly street, and 60,000 meter square noise barrier is included in the presidential performance program. So it is under the responsibility of our ministry. In order to achieve these targets, our ministry is working closely with universities like Green Transition in Transport project. We work closely with Trade University in Istanbul. It's for the purpose of increasing the rate of micromobility vehicles, cultural transformation works, and communication works related to forming common awareness in society will be carried out. And feedback for decision makers and policy developers will be given. And also another project, we are working together with Mr. Karaman from Hacı Bayram Veli University for the future of micro electric vehicles project. In Turkey, scooter usage is highly increasing in the recent years. And in this project, current state of scooter usage in Turkey will be determined. Dimensions related with the technology activities will be emerged. Intentions of scooter users, pedestrians, and car drivers will be determined. Important feedback again will be given to decision makers and policy developers. I am approaching to the end of the presentation, and we are, as Air Management Department is the focal point for the United Nations European Network Economic Commission Transport, Health and Environmental Pan-European Program, namely the PEP. We actually joined online meetings in April for cycling and in June for walking. Information transfer on cycling road master plan and green walking paths was given. I want to wrap up with the final recommendations about the cycling in Turkey. Actually, these are shown in bullet point style here. So you can see that National Cycling Transport Plan should be developed and implemented. Cycling-friendly regulations should be incorporated into traffic flows. Cycling-friendly traffic should be created. Road area should be arranged among road users in a fair way. Cycling network and maintenance should be coordinated among national, regional, and local level. Sustainable finance plans should be implemented, established for cycling ride promotion. Close cooperation should be established with international finance institutes to provide cycling infrastructure financing. Infrastructure planning should, in the investment decisions, impact of cycling usage should be taken into account. Also in special planning, cycling should be considered when taking action. Fiscal incentives should be introduced for cycling usage. Cycling usage should be disseminated through mobility management. Work should be carried out for public awareness on cycling transport. Information systems should be established for providing statistical data on cycling roads and cycling usage. And finally, a national information center should be established for training of professionals and improving skills. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Erdem, for your informative presentation. Now we have with us now we have with us Professor Karaman, Mr. Ersin Karaman from Hacı Bayram Veli University, who is a valuable lecturer at there. Yes, hocam, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Önder. First of all, I would like to apologize for my voice. I am a little bit sick. That's why I have not prepared my presentation also. So let me start. This is not mine. This is not my presentation. This is Erdem's presentation. Diğeri. The other file is mine. I'm just coming.
Uh, we are sorry. Sometimes we have some troubles like that. It is technical issue. It's not.
Okay, we have just solved the problem. Actually, I would like to mention about our project. Mr. Erdem has already mentioned about that. We are interested in the future of electric scooters, micromobility. But we just want to analyze these problems from different point of view. As an information system specialist, generally we interested in why people use technologies because we are handling the scooters as a technology also. This is important question, but in order to answer we need to go a little bit historical devices. You most probably you remember Google Glass. Actually it is not no more popular. For example, Google glasses, Google Plus, LG phones, Flex, LG, Windows Mobile operating system. These are the technologies that have not been used anymore. Why? The main question is this actually. We are just trying to find an answer for this question, and we doubt whether the scooters is not going to used. So as an information system specialist, we handle such problems from technology acceptance model, which is a theory actually, one of the explanatory theory of the answer of such question actually, technology acceptance model. What it says actually, it focuses on the behavioral intention to use of the technology by the people, by the user actually. So it is developed 1989 by Davis, and the raw form of this model you can see pursuit usefulness very important, and pursuit ease of use, and then intention to use, and then actual system use. So we are interested in which case the people use scooters. What happens that make them to use scooters actually? This is the main question. We are trying to find the answer from the research mode. This is a little bit uh, later version of actually technology acceptance model, because this is a sociological theory interested in analyze relationship among attitude, intention, and behavior. So I will explain in more detail, but this theory is developed to understand the relationships, attitude, intentions, and behavior much more deeper. And the main aim of this theory is to explain deliberate social behaviors for the tools or interface or the any issues. This is the main factors actually. Now let me go back. Why people use technology? Actually, very important question. Actually, is the technology is useful or is it easy to use? Actually, this is very important. These are very important questions, but the answer is not related with the technology. It is about the perception. I mean, experience, your age, your gender, etc. But it is not about the technology. So what is different? Actually, we are different. We are all individuals are very different, and we have some unique features actually. All of us are different, and we just trying to adopt a technology, or somebody makes us adopt a technology. So we just trying to adapt this one. I am sorry for the Turkish words, but the main thing is you have a work task and you have a context, and technology combine these two actually. The better combine these two means the more accepted technology it is actually. Okay. So the task is the task useful, or is the interface, tool, device, whatever it is ease of use? Okay, this is very question. These are the very important question, and we need to take care all technology from this point of view. Ease of use and is it useful? If they are, we accept that technology. If not, we didn't accept that technology. So we solved the scooters as a technology. That's why. Of course, we have some limitations about technology acceptance model. Normally, people make rational decisions, but sometimes they may not. In these cases, we cannot explain why the old people are in queue to buy new iPhone. Actually, we cannot explain that one. This is our limitations. And the second limitation, technology acceptance model never says how it should be, how it should be designed actually. We cannot say any design clues about the process, but we just try to understand how can people use that technology. Yes, scooters, it is actually a little bit old device, but it is popular now. At least it didn't finish their life cycle. The scooters continue to be used by people actually. And also another problem, scooters, yes, we have, but we need some new regulations. Of course, all countries and all ministries make some regulations about scooters, but still they are saying we are doing the best one, we are doing the better one. Yes, actually, as all technology, after as all technology released, the new regulations should be released, should be prepared also. So we just try to look better one together. Yes, what we are doing to do so? Actually, we are just make a model like this one. Actually, this is the former one. We collect data, but we need to remove the self expectancy. And then this is our model. We are interested in pursuit security, pursuit usefulness, pursuit ease of use, environmental sensitivity, and social impact, and their impact on behavioral intention. To do so, we just developed a new scale regarding actually and collect pilot data. During this process, actually, we take care of this figure. Every technology, let me try to show you, or I cannot. Interface we have, like a phone, user like me, and the task like speaking or messaging someone, and the context. Context is very important. I can't use phone in a conference mode, or in a silent mode, or in a school mode, something like these are the contexts. So we have a device, scooter. I am the user, you are the user. We have a task, mobility is our task. What's our context? What happens make what makes our people to use scooters more safely? We are looking this question actually. Uh, as I said, I am trying to, and my team also try to understand the main factors which affect users' preferences about the scooter. And we also have collected some data, of course, but this is the pilot study, so I have no any results. Actually, I have, but preliminary. Let me share some of this. These are the final question, final scale that we collect the data from the users. Actually, more here is the some of the answers. Approximately 1,000 people. But I just want you to focus on this because these are the factors actually. Pursuit security. People are interested in security. For using scooter, the security is the most important factor for the users. If you guarantee to them, they are going to use. Environmental sensitivity is important if you make people more informed about environment or climate change. They are going to use scooter. This means like that. Or social impact. If my friend use scooters, I can only use, I can also use scooters. This means like that. Or pursuit or ease of use. Most of the people wonder about the use of scooters. So we need to improve their ease of use factors actually. And pursuit usefulness, in which context it should be used. For a short distance or middle distance or far distance, or do we need really separate roads for e-scooters? These are the main question we are focused on according to this data actually. Uh, and also, I would like to just share my student project. I just asked them to promote scooters to the people. Could you please prepare some media elements, and they prepare some things. I would like to share it with you. Here is some sample things, and this is another one. I really like that for promote the scooter use actually. This is another one, very creative by the way. This is the another board sample, and this is another again board. Yes, this one is another one. This is about sustainability, much more appropriate for the Egypt. This is about security poster. Yes, this is about the ease of use side. Yeah, these are the some samples of the project. Thank you very much for your listening. If you have any question, it's very glad to be for me to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hocam. As you said, as every country, as in Turkey, we are also trying to do our best to establish a better regulation about micromobility. But I think, as far as I know, we are one step in front of the EU countries on this topic. And now we came to the end of the side event. Thank you very much. I again would like to uh, you, thank you on behalf of my ministry. Thanks again.
Hello dear participants, it's really a great honor to be with you on behalf of Turkish Public Oversight Accounting and Auditing Standards Authority. I wish I could be with you in person. Turkish Public Oversight Authority is a governmental non-profit regulatory body and the sole
Ses prova. Mehmet Bey merhabalar. Bizi duyabiliyor musunuz? Bizi duyabiliyorsanız kameranızı açabilir misiniz? Mehmet Bey merhabalar. Bizi duyuyorsanız kamerayı açabilir misiniz? Evet. Bir de
Sizi duyabiliyoruz.
Sevgi Hanım
Siz bizi
merhabalar,
duyabiliyorsunuz.
nasılsınız?
Çok iyiyim.
Şöyle
Teşekkürler.
bir
Siz
deneme
nasılsınız?
yapalım istedik sizinle. Birazdan zaten videosunu paylaşacağız Mehmet Başkanımızın. En sonunda ilk başta isterseniz Mehmet Bey oradaysa bir ekranda olursa kendisini takdim edip programa geçeceğiz.
Evet, şimdi gelecek.
Tamam olur. Ondan
Hemen
sonrasında
geçiyorum
zaten
kendisini.
en sonunda tekrar sizi misafir edeceğiz, tamam?
Tamam,
Çok
çok
teşekkürler.
teşekkürler.
Yedek aldık bunlar. O hocanın bunu. Ona bir yazdım. Siz geçtiğinizde kameraya geçin. Evet. Olmayacak gibi ama bilmiyorum. Hazırız evet. Diğerlerine oturduklarında başlayabiliriz. Hocam.
It's okay. You can start. Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. We just started our session. Welcome and very welcome from the Turkey. They cannot hear. again, welcome to our session, and very well welcome from Integrated Reporting Association Turkey. And our session titled today, Rebuilding Global Standards in Reporting Ecosystem. First of all, I would like to talk about a little bit about Integrated Reporting Association Turkey. I think we are one of the most influential association and NGO in Turkey to try to align with companies with global reporting standard, global sustainability standard. Our aim is that we have to increase competitive level of global area for our companies. So that's why we just need to encourage them, because we just need to increase awareness, because we just need to help them to align with the global regulation and global standards. So today we are at COP27. Our main question is that climate change, climate crisis, this is one of the most important issues all over the world. Because of that, majority of the investors every day keep increasing number of the investors seeking extra information from the companies to make their decision, investment decision, and many stakeholders already have a communication with the company asking extra information, reliable information from the company. So company now responsible to provide quality and reliable and detailed information, not only financial, but also non-financial information. So, of course, we are not blaming company to making money, no problem, because they have to survive, they have to produce, they have to pay the salary and wage for the staff. But we are expecting to see the all companies to provide this growth and profit with responsible way. Respecting nature, respecting society, respecting people. So the new reporting design aiming to provide this necessary information for all stakeholders, not only investors, but also all stakeholders. So in our session, actually we are going to discuss the future reporting design. This journey started long time ago, but you heard very important and radical news last year at COP26. COP26, the IFRS Foundation announced that they established International Sustainability Standard Board, which means this board responsible to raise global sustainability standards to implement all companies all over the world. So Integrated Reporting Association Turkey represent Turkey to provide alignment between global standard to local standards. So that's why our target in Turkey, our aim in Turkey to keep good relationship between global regulator, framework provider, standard setter to our governments, to our regulatory body, to our companies. Today we are going to discuss these issues, and we will talk about the recent developments, future developments, and future perspective of the reporting design. And also we are going to talk about impact of reporting standards on investor and stakeholder decision-making process. So we have 4 distinguished guests in the stage. Also, one join us in online with video. Our first speaker is Nadidi. She is very welcome, Nadidi. She is from ISSP. She is board member of ISSP, newly appointed. Welcome to board and welcome to our world. You are always care about these issues, but now you have extra responsibility to give a direction for all over the world. So, and our second speaker is Vikas Agarwal. He's from ACCA. He's our old friend. He knows Turkey very well. He is always supporting us. He's regional head of public affairs, Europe, Eurasia, and Middle East and Americas. And third speaker is Paulina Murphy. She is director of World Benchmarking Alliance. and our old friend Paul Druckmann, chairman of this association. And we always remember every time to give encouragement for Turkish society. And our other two speakers from Turkey, Elif Gökçeöz, head of Climate Finance Investment Department. And our last speaker is Mehmet Şirin, head of Accounting Standard Department, Public Oversight Accounting and Auditing Standard Authority. So my first question for Naridi. And Naridi, the idea behind of ISSB was to develop a global baseline of sustainability, disclosing standard for capital markets. And so trust and connectivity is one of the biggest issues to provide all stakeholders. And trust and connectivity between financial and non-financial information. This is, I think, one of the biggest homework for ISSP. How they will do that? And they already released 2 exposure drafts. And Turkey, as Integrated Reporting Association, Turkey gives some feedback for exposure draft. But we are looking forward to see the result. What the ISSP strategy in terms of ensuring connectivity and trust, which are highly demanded by, especially for investors. What is your observation?
I'm all equipped. Hi, my name is Ndidi. First of all, Güler, I just want to say congratulations because Güler, what she hasn't said, is going to be a member of the Integrated Reporting Connectivity Council, which is going to advise the ISSB and the IFRS Foundation, and that meets for the first time on the 10th of November. So congratulations on your journey so far. I think I'm also pleased just to say that the work that you've done on integrated reporting all these years is actually a significant contribution also to that question of trust and connectivity. In the panel just before this one, it was a panel with some of the leading global investors, and they call the question trust, they call it credibility. And one of the things that the ISSB standards are supposed to do and working hard towards doing is, first of all, build the connection between sustainability metrics, climate metrics, very relevant today, with the financial metrics, so that we're actually taking those risks and opportunities and making them relevant and providing them as decision useful material to investors to enable the facilitation of capital flows. That's a very important ingredient. And that builds on the fact that the ISSB, which, by the way, I've been saying all of today, today is the ISSB's birthday because it was born on Climate Finance Day at COP26 a year ago. Today on main stage, the chairman of the ISSB, we now have a fully constituted board of 14 members, will announce the partnership framework, which is focused around capacity building. You're one of the partners, one of the founding partners. Is built around ensuring that we have a boat that lifts, first of all, carries all sizes of organizations, and secondly, lifts all boats across all jurisdictions. And so the 2,500 companies across 70 jurisdictions that already report on integrated reporting will also flow into this, because as you already know, the objective, and I'll stop here because I know we're short of time, is to build one global standard that is a baseline, a truly global baseline that others can build on. So in that regard, there are 3 things that are really important. One of them is the connectivity between the financial and the sustainability, which the integrated reporting framework feeds into. Secondly is the work of standard setting, where we're building on TCFD, CDSB, SASB, industry standards, the integrated reporting framework, and so much more. And the third is exactly what you talked about, ensuring that we have disclosures that help feed investors with decision useful material that helps them channel capital flows and that we provide the relevant capacity building and advisory support across the jurisdictions to ensure that no one is left behind.
Thank you, Nariri. I am very supportive of the concept of global baseline and building block approach for ISSB, but of course, ISSB can ensure that some material topics are appropriately covered by ISSB and ISSB standards. The last risk, I think, there will be the national governments will create their own jurisdiction-specific requirements leading to regulatory fragmentation. We can talk in our second round maybe a little bit about that. Now I would like to move because in an effort to unite the world under a global approach to development of sustainability disclosure standards, undoubtedly accountancy bodies huge responsibility to provide actually assurance and reliable information. They have vital role for reporting design and reporting results. In this point, because what is your actually position as ISSB in terms of ISSB and as an ACC, sorry, ISSB and ESRC? You know, we have to talk about this. Which steps in ACCA taking order to align itself with the new corporate reporting environment? And finally, what are the strategies of ACCA to make sure regional bodies are also aligned with the new standards? So, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting us to be here today. It's a real pleasure to work with ERTA in Turkey and on integrated reporting and on corporate reporting more broadly. Our position, I think, is this. You know, with regards to the alphabet soup of ISSB, ESRS, CSRD, and of course what the SEC will be doing eventually, we want to see as much alignment as possible. We don't want to see variations between different areas create challenges for businesses. We don't want regulatory overburden to having to
Can you just a
comply
little bit closer? Yeah.
with lots of different sets of standards. And in particular, we're really concerned about the impact on small businesses because we know that they have the greatest costs attached with regulatory compliance. Now, what we're doing is we're making sure that we're feeding into those bodies. We're speaking to all of them. ISSB, we work with closely. ESRS, we work through our Brussels and our EU footprint to engage with regulators there. But we're making sure that the new standards work for everybody. In terms of strategies, now, you've heard that ACCA will be part of the framework partnership with ISSB and IFRS. Our view is this. We have some of the broadest shoulders in the accounting profession globally. And so it's our duty to ensure, as indeed he says, that we help smaller bodies, smaller nations lift up equally at the same time as everybody else. We can do the work that others can't. We know, I've spoken to national bodies around the world who say, we're terrified of new regulation, we don't know what to do, we don't know how to address it. It's on us to support. It's on us to support it. It's on us to support them through our relationships and our partnerships to help those national bodies lift up with their members as well.
So, great. Thank you. I am happy to see the positive and constructive actually development. So I would like to move to national experience, Elif Hanım. Actually in Turkey we have a very positive progress in terms of reporting and sustainability issue. So, and also after signing Paris Climate Agreement, we can see more active implementation and action about net zero targets and other things in Turkey. We have climate summit. We just prepared in 3 months, which is very, very successful result. And now many of the organizations in Turkey, ministers and other regulators and other related NGOs and organizations try to align with this, our commitment actually, which is very hopeful time in Turkey. And I would like to hear from you. Could you please tell us how your view, the relationship between climate change and sustainability issues, sustainability data, and standards and reporting framework? What is the Minister of Climate Change thinking about this one? And what are the recent key policy developments in Turkey, including sustainable reporting standards and their implication of companies and all institutions, including non-government organizations and public institutions.
Sure, thank you. So I'll address the first part of your question before I move on to what we're doing in Turkey. So usually, and more so in negotiations, what attracts most attention is the numbers on climate finance, right? So, because they make punchy headlines. But that's actually an instrumental goal. The real goal of climate finance is to create impact on the ground, and this is where data reporting and standards come in. So, a large part of a company's value is actually non-financial, right? For example, they have intellectual capital, they have technology, they have human capital, social capital, and also there are also large non-financial risks in addition to these assets. So COVID-19 was a case in point, and in relation to climate change, you have physical risk, you have transition risk. To actually make an investment, you need data on these risks, and also you need data to assess the long-term potential, the long-term value creation potential of your investment. And market players need data to do that. So, for example, according to a survey conducted by BlackRock in 2020, 53% of investors said data is the biggest reason why they're not investing more in ESG. And climate finance, of course, or climate change is a central pillar of ESG. And for those more economically inclined, what ESG data does is to improve market efficiency through addressing informational asymmetries. Now, standards, they come into play in actually guiding investors which data points to actually pick and choose and to disclose. So what are the data points that are relevant for investors? And there are actually 600 standards around the world. Now, that's a problem because it creates market fragmentation for investors, especially if you're an investor with a global portfolio. And actually, from what I said, if there's one key takeaway, the point you want to make is you have to make the jobs of investors easier. So that means you have to reduce transaction costs and you have to allow investors to plug and play. But this, of course, is an investor-focused view. You also need data, reporting, and standards for the public because the public is actually interested in the business operations and they shouldn't lead to greenwashing, for example. So it has public good value as well. So what is done in Turkey, to come to the second part of your question? I'll start with the capital markets. So in 2020, the Capital Markets Board announced the Sustainable Principles Compliance Framework. I can go into detail on this, but basically it has actions on ESG, and companies publicly traded companies are required to report on them. Well, report on them, but it's not mandatory. They have to comply or explain. And also, this was on the equity side of things. On the bond side, fixed income side of things, you have green debt instruments guidelines, again published by the CMB. And this is basically about green bonds, thematic bonds, scoops, of course. And also, so this was the capital market side of things, but in Turkey, actually the financial system, 91% of the value in the financial system is constituted by banks. So banks, what the banking regulatory agency does is very important to guide the financial sector. So one example I can give from the Banking Regulation and Supervision Agency is the strategic sustainable banking standards. So sustainable banking strategic plan. So this plan gives an overview of the current sustainable banking practices in Turkey and actually highlights problem areas. So what are the problem areas for sustainable banking? And one of the things that they highlight is the lack of a taxonomy. And this is actually a nice segue to what my department is doing at the Climate Change Office. We're actually responsible for developing the national green taxonomy in Turkey, or Turkey. we've actually partnered with Agence Française de Développement. We have a project that we hope to launch very soon. So what they're doing is they're analytically supporting the taxonomy development process in Turkey. So the idea for a taxonomy, if you don't know anything about the taxonomy, it basically means a classification system. So you have technical screening criteria, and you have green activities. So you have, and they match. So this is just to avoid greenwashing and ensure investors that their ESG or climate finance is going where it's supposed to be going. And currently, actually, we're working with a local university to develop modalities for a technical expert group to develop the taxonomy. And lastly, finally, and perhaps Mehmet Bey is much more knowledgeable on this than me, the Turkish sustainability standards. So they will actually complement our taxonomy work and give direction to investors and make it easier for companies to disclose their ESG work. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was very helpful to explain what's going on in Turkey. Actually, related ministers and regulatory authority working together, which is very important. As you mentioned, Turkish Capital Market Authority regulated sustainability standards framework. They issued 2020 October, and with complying and explain rule. But I think first year we did a research. 71% of the companies already disclosed in the first year, but nowadays I think over maybe 85% companies already disclose, even not compulsory, which is very good sign for the companies and also stakeholders to see they are willing to disclose necessary information. Even we can make it mandatory, but I don't think it will be any problem for listed company, which is important. And also banking side, we will hear their voice at 4 o'clock. We have another session. They are a little bit moving forward than other maybe institutions to align banking system to especially financing green transformation with a green finance strategy. Thank you. So we will hear more voice from Turkey. I would like to invite the video record Mehmet Şirin. He is head of accounting standard departments. Public Oversight Accounting and Auditing Standard Authority. He is going to share the latest development in terms of regulatory side of sustainability standards issue, actually.
Hello, dear participants. It's really a great honor to be with you on behalf of Turkish Public Oversight Accounting and Auditing Standards Authority. I wish I could be with you in person. Turkish Public Oversight Authority is a governmental, non-profit regulatory body and the sole supreme authority on accounting and auditing regulations. The Turkish Public Oversight Authority has made incredible progress in the short time since it was established in 2011. And also, it adopted Turkish financial reporting standards, which are fully compliant with IFRS for all public interest entities during this term. It also developed local financial reporting standards for large and medium-sized entities based on the requirements in the European Union Accounting Directive and the IFRS for SMEs standards. It established auditing standards fully compliant with ISAs. It created an audit oversight system equivalent to European Union and other audit oversight systems. Now we think it is time to transfer our experience and knowledge on financial reporting environment to better and high quality sustainability related disclosures. We are aware of the increasing expectation of stakeholders and the need for sustainable businesses. Our jurisdiction is not a newcomer to sustainability disclosures. Many public companies have been voluntarily providing decent practice of non-financial reporting. So one of the main duty is to expand this reporting infrastructure and to increase reporting capacity of other Turkish companies, especially large and medium companies, in order to meet the needs of investors, consumers, and other stakeholders. With recent amendments of Turkish Commercial Code in June, Turkish Public Oversight Authority is authorized to set and issue the Turkish sustainability reporting standards, and also to determine the entities subject to mandatory reporting. Pursuant to this empowerment, Turkish Public Oversight Authority has increased its outreaches and engagements with parties in the ESG environment. As a result of these works, Turkish Public Oversight Authority has decided the main steps to be taken. In order to ensure the uniformity in practice and the international validity of reports on sustainability, Turkish Public Oversight Authority is planning to set out a sustainability reporting framework that will enable companies to provide high-quality, transparent, reliable, and globally comparable reporting on ESG issues. In this direction, Turkish Public Oversight Authority aims to set and issue Turkish sustainability disclosure standards in compliance with related international standards. Turkish Public Oversight Authority is also planning to set out assurance engagement standards and implementation guidance in order to improve the reliability of sustainability reports. And also it aims to authorize auditors and audit firms that have required qualification on ESG issues. One of the other targets is to establish internationally acceptable oversight system. We are also giving importance to establish digital sustainability reporting taxonomy in order to increase the accessibility and facilitation of analysis of sustainability reporting. We believe that for a sound and efficient sustainability reporting ecosystem, there is a need for increased coordination and cooperation. As a Turkish regulatory body, we will willingly take necessary actions and work with local and international partners. Thank you.
We would like to thank Mehmet Bey for his latest information in terms of regulatory body. And I would like to move to hear about World Benchmarking Alliance voice. Polina, welcome. So WBA represents organizations working at global, regional, and local levels to shape the private industry, private sectors, which has a crucial role, contribution to the achieving SDGs. You have a lot of work in different industries. So considering compliance with the global standards, so can we say that this will in turn allow for a smoother benchmarking process? And how will this benefit the goal for sustainable future? As far as I know, 2022 financial system benchmark just released yesterday. So maybe you can give a little bit information about that. It's very interesting information inside.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm a hopeful person, so I'm going to start with the excitement that I feel by the momentum that is building. That started last year at COP26. It's really building here at COP27 on the disclosures and corporate reporting generally. So just yesterday we heard that CDP announced that they will integrate the ISSB climate-related disclosure standard into its global environmental disclosure platform. That provides an excellent focus in terms of consistency of what we will start getting from companies. And also yesterday there was a huge focus on the net zero pledges by companies and the role that the new public data climate portal developed by Bloomberg and other stakeholders, and the role that that will play to increase transparency and consistency of reporting. That platform has been developed in conjunction with, of course, the theme of COP here, generally on delivery and getting ready for the global stocktake, and focus on the role that private sector can play. And then this is where my hopefulness is coloured somewhat by the examples that we see from our work on benchmarking. So we are now seeing limited transparency and therefore limited accountability. So I'm just going to, in the next minute, focus a little bit on that. I'll cover our finance benchmark later. First, I wanted to draw on an example from our transport benchmark, which we also launched just last month. So why do we care? So we benchmark companies, and we can only do that if the disclosures by companies are good enough for us to build a picture of what those companies are doing in terms of their impact on people and planet. So really taking the work of financial reporting and non-financial reporting, so all the amazing work that you guys have been doing on integrated reporting really comes to life in our benchmarking. So to give a figure from our transport benchmark, where we map 90 companies from the aviation, shipping, rail and road heavy sectors, 19% cover scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions, but they lack, majority lack disclosure of 1.5 degree scenario pathways. So we anticipate that with the use of more consistent frameworks and platforms in terms of disclosure, that reporting is, the need to report all of that is now required will get much better. So we can then also encourage companies to ensure that as well as setting long-term goals, that they give us interim reporting of how they're going to get there. And we're just not seeing that at the moment. So we anticipate that the work by all these different platforms and frameworks will really help us to understand what companies do better.
Thank you, Paulina. After discussion, in the first round, some trends and to understand what's going on in reporting world, let's move to future perspective. What will we see, Nadidi? So what is ISSB planning? What we expect to see in the near future, very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you also for the very insightful comments. Very good discussion. And hopefully just building on what everyone has said, for example, on the question of reducing the burden of reporting, reducing the cost of reporting. I think what we will see with the standards, first of all, the standards will be published next year as early as possible in 2023. What we're seeing as well, because you talked across different jurisdictions, is we will have possibly an announcement today of an African country or more than one African country actually being a first mover, which speaks to the point that this is really about, one, driving early adoption, even as part of the process of finalizing these standards, because the more that jurisdictions and companies and regulators engage and say, how do we move from standards to actual implementation, the better standards we will get. That's one. The more likelihood that we know all jurisdictions across the world consider this to be their truly global baseline upon which they can build, the more likely it is that we will have a truly global baseline that everyone can reference and that allows for interoperability, allows for comparability, and also above all allows for trust, allows for credibility, and also allows for companies to, if you think through how the standards are structured, they start from governance, they go to strategy, they go to risks and opportunities, and they go to targets and metrics. So in other words, in applying the standards, you're actually building resilience into your business, because it's not enough just to track financial metrics. And it's not enough to look and make goals without having a plan for how you move from goals that you set yourself into the planning that is required into implementation. Again, in the previous session, I think what's also worth talking about here is what kind of risks are we mitigating against? We're talking about physical risks. I mean, the country I come from has suffered significantly from flooding, and that flooding impacts large companies and small companies alike. So we need to have them all in the boat. We're looking at transition risks that is very, very real, and it's happening globally and locally at the same time. And we're looking at new technologies, which really create entirely new opportunities, and also the potential for new industries and new jobs and new emergence of knowledge that carries an intergenerational component that we must not forget. Because the intergenerational component also brings in new thinking, innovation, and new kinds of investment for the future. And I think this is particularly important for developing and emerging countries. I think the biggest thing that you will see in the future, which is launched today, is that the ISSB has a partnership program that focuses on capacity building and advisory support is reaching out to a range of global stakeholders, including the ERTA and the IIRC and other actors, in order to make sure that we are really leaving no one behind and ensuring the transparency and accountability that we desperately need in order to meet the timeline and countdown that the planet has given us.
Yes, very good. Thank you. I think it's regulation and standard is okay, but we have to know how to implement it. We have to see the positive result. Otherwise, just like designing something but not really get real benefit from this regulation. And because this is your responsibility, how can we trust the figures? How can we trust the sustainability information? What is the accountants and accounting word? Responsibility. What is the future perspective of ACCA for these standards?
Yeah, Gula, thank you very much. So, from the outset, our qualification has had sustainability built into it. The principles and the skills and the knowledge that you sort of need behind it. Because we recognise for decades, this isn't a new invention. We've recognised for decades that we need to move in this direction. But of course, the ecosystem is changing, which is why today, very today, we're launching our new climate finance product. And this is really to say, look, we've got to do a lot more. We've got to do a lot more to educate people, our own members, our own students, people outside of our accounting profession. We have, like I said, that broad shoulders to help other people. Now, believe it or not, again to sort of quote Bloomberg, there's a global shortage of accountants. And this is a really huge risk for the profession. It's a huge risk for businesses. It's a huge risk for the sustainability agenda. But actually, that's where we do come in. We recognise that there's that shortage. And so we're trying to shape the profession to ensure that it meets new generations' values. They care about the environment. They care about fellow man. They care about ensuring good corporate citizenship. And so we're ensuring that the profession reflects those values and moving in that direction. But we can't do it in isolation. We work with educators. We work with businesses. We work with governments. We work with regulators. We work with development bodies. Only together can we actually ensure that the accounting profession contributes to the sustainability agenda. We do it through our certificates, we do it through our education process, we do it through our consultations, and we do it being a good partner of the IFRS Foundation and IWSB. But for us, it's about working collectively, which is again why in Turkey we're so glad to work with ERTA. We're so glad to contribute to Turkey's sustainability journey through our partnerships there. And so, yeah, I think to say, on behalf of ACCA, for us, it's about ensuring that the profession underpins sustainability as best it can, that we are advising businesses in the right way, and we're ensuring that as indeed you very eloquently put, that we're all lifting up together.
Thank you. Thank you, Vikas. And I would like to continue with Elif. Actually, we have Green Election Plan, we all know, and also now ISSB standards and also ESRC. A lot of this going on around us, how the minister actually planning to align with this development. What is the minister's plan to make sure that all companies are able to use international standards and reporting framework, and reach investor expectation as well? Is there any plan you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. So I can start to answer that question by actually linking it to what we're doing at COP27. So actually, a number of common challenges emerge for developing countries when you look at the climate finance landscape, and these challenges actually have to do closely with data. So first, you actually need projects for climate finance to flow in. And this is a problem for many developing countries. So for example, for adaptation projects, I mean, you might already know that adaptation finance is one of the biggest issues here at COP27, especially in light of the pledge to develop adaptation finance in Glasgow. And for adaptation finance in particular, climate data is very important, because you need to collect data to establish climate rationale and to actually show that your climate vulnerability. For example, especially for small island states, they sometimes have difficulty developing adaptation project proposals for climate funds because they typically don't have the climatological and environmental data. So, for example, to make that more concrete, this was an issue at the GCF. So, developing countries actually complained that the fund's independent technical advisory panel, which assesses project proposals, lacked historical. I mean, they said it was very often that they said projects lacked historical data. And when you don't have such climate data, it's also difficult to structure projects for the private sector and use innovative instruments such as weather-indexed bonds. So also for thematic and use of received bonds, data and financial reporting and impact reporting, they're built into the process of issuing funds. So a strong ESG engagement with investors is actually crucial to diversify your investor base when you issue a bond, and it also improves the liquidity of your bond in the secondary market, and it helps to build a healthy yield curve, which then helps to reduce your price discovery risk and execution risk in future bond issues. So another issue is data helps to track climate finance. So actually, in one of the reports of the Standing Committee on Finance, the last biennial assessment of climate flows, data gaps and uncertainties is cited as one of the biggest challenges, one of the most perennial challenges, in fact, in climate finance. Lastly, such data requirements highlight the importance of access in international climate finance. So to come back to your question, I think sustainability reporting standards in Turkey and elsewhere can actually help to increase the availability of information in developing countries and inspire many finance providers in thinking about access procedures. So to streamline access procedures and actually get inspired by what the ISSB is doing and other in consolidating the frameworks for sustainability finance. For all developing countries, including Turkey, this is very important, and the ministry is aware of that. And we're actually partnering with institutions such as the Climate Capital Markets Board. So Capital Markets Board is like the SEC in the US, in case you're unfamiliar with the Turkish context. And we're also closely working with the Public Oversight Authority, where Mehmet Bey is working. This is what I can say on this
Thank
question.
you. I think providing data, not only financial but also non-financial data, on the way to reach long-term fund for emerging countries. It is also very crucial to provide necessary financial support for green transformation.
Exactly, climate data, financial data.
Yes. So we are waiting to see the green taxonomy soon.
Yes, very excited about that.
Yes. Thank you. Can I move on? Paulina, the adaptation of ISSB standards will cause some shifts between countries and their own standards. So what can governments and organizations expect to gain your work, actually, in terms of benchmarking results? So what are the risks of missing out the benchmarking internationally?
Thank you. So benchmarks help to identify which are the actions that need our urgent attention. What are the gaps of inaction? Who are the leaders? What are the leading best practices? What can we learn from those best practices? And then importantly, who are the laggards and how do we need to help through good, strong dialogue those companies or those practices to be lifted and to raise the bar of the entire industry. So if that's the basis of benchmarking, we anticipate that as countries implement the global frameworks and mandate in some cases, for example, the European Union is also at the regional level mandating disclosure standards. Companies will comply and we will have a better understanding of all of those issues. Now, you asked me to also reflect a bit on the international and the national, and I'm here in the Turkish pavilion, and I really wanted to provide a few examples of Turkish companies and what
Yes,
they're up
please.
to, and judge for yourself whether it's leading and lagging, and I'll offer a view at the end. So coming back to our transport benchmark, the Turkish Airlines, or Turk Hava Yolları, sorry for the pronunciation.
Yes, good pronunciation, yes.
Thank you. They engaged with our process, so that's already, when companies engage, we know that they have something to say. And the Turkish Airlines commits to respecting human rights and worker health and safety. They offer training for workers and affected stakeholders, and they have a commitment to reduce Scope 1 absolute emissions by 50% by 2050. They do need to strengthen disclosure on most core social and just transition topics. Is that a sign for me to stop speaking? And they perform fairly well on that side, and mostly on engagement. On our finance system benchmark, so this is much bigger than the transport. This is 400 finance institutions, banks, insurance, asset managers, asset owners, and we looked at 400 companies, and İzbank, which is the Turkish bank, placed 138 out of 400. Out of the 155 banks we assessed, it placed at 73. The reason I pulled out this example is that in this case, the bank is well placed to take a leadership position on sustainability in the Western Asia region and drive impact. It commits to gender equality, women's empowerment, and discloses Scope 3 portfolio emissions and discloses financing of SMEs. These are some really leading practices, and this kind of past performance that we can learn from a benchmark. And I just wanted to conclude that in both of the examples, by fuller disclosure against the global frameworks, it allows us to have a better dialogue between the parties. It allows creates stronger understanding of the gaps of inaction, highlights potential leaders and at the national, regional, or international level, and finally highlights the lagging practices and therefore creates accountability.
Yes, thank you, Paulina. Actually, benchmarking is providing some information to see where we are, how much way to go further. So it's very important to comparison between other related companies. So thank you very much. As far as I know, we are just beginning of our journey. So we have a lot of homework to do all together, but we know that we cannot do only person, company, NGO, or regulatory body. We have to collaborate each other. We have to understand each other. As I told you, it's easy to raise the standards and regulation, but who is and how is the implementation side? We have to be together. We have to support the companies and institutions when they are working on their role. So actually, time is over, but I would like to give one word to, as a closing remark. What is your expectation for COP27 in terms of your organization or your personally? Just very quick remark, if it is possible, to close our session on time. Please, Nadidi.
Well, I think COP27 is really about action. It's not about making more promises that we cannot fulfill. I think the ISSB has got to play its part, and that has got to be making available these standards, at least the first two for which there are exposure drafts, making sure that we're working with jurisdictions across the entire world to ensure we're giving the right advisory support and capacity building for implementation, and especially for emerging and developing economies, ensuring that those standards can be applied not just by large listed companies, but also smaller companies, especially because we're doing Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3, which means the supply chain, and also ensuring that especially for developing and emerging economies where this is more difficult, where possible we can leverage technology to make the burden of reporting easier, but most importantly, that this also unlocks capital flows that are desperately needed for the transition planning, for adaptation, and for mitigation. I think that is our responsibility, our duty, our commitment, our passion. And hopefully when we are here in COP28, we will be reporting just like we did between COP26 and COP27. We will have a scorecard. We will be reporting action. We will be reporting outcomes because we are at the end of the day accountable to you. We're building your standards. We're building our standards. And this is really just a major milestone and report back. We've done what you asked us to do last year. Now, in partnership with you, we're setting out to do a new path, which is towards implementation and outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you. How is ACCA hope for COP27? Because
yeah, I think from our perspective, I mean, just to echo what Didi said, it's about implementation now. I mean, we talk about just transitions for developing economies and adaptation. It's easy to think about green bonds and big financing going into large projects and so on and so forth, but developing economies are often made up by 90% of SMEs. And if we're not doing something, if we're not working to support them, their longevity, their existence 5, 10 years into the future, then we're going to see huge swathes of small businesses lost. And that's both on transition and adaptation, but also on protecting them through catastrophe loss. We think about what's going on in the world at the moment, on a third underwater. If you translate that, it's a third of businesses underwater, right? That's a third of businesses lost in that country. How do we ensure that those businesses are protected through the right financing, the right valuations, the right understanding and knowledge of how to protect themselves in the future?
Thank you. Elif?
So maybe as a closing remark, I can talk about what our expectation is from COP27. Well, our expectation is for COP27 to send two very important signals to financial market participants. First, how will the pledges be fulfilled? And second, how can the financial sector actually contribute to the aims of climate finance agreed upon in multilateral processes? So this COP is about implementation after the completion of the rulebook in COP26 in Glasgow. So in this COP, it's very important to show that there can be trust in multilateral processes, and this is actually part of what implementation is, because we've agreed on what we're going to do, and now we have to show the world that you're going to implement it. So the world actually has to start doing what it preaches in after COP27. So that's why COP27 is important.
Yes, thank you. Paulina?
Thank you. Building on that, at COP27, I'd love to see some clarity of how business and finance, in concrete terms, contributes to the global stocktake that is ongoing, so that by next year, COP28, this clarity leads to a mechanism to track commitments so that all pledges and things that we say here are actually held to account and progressed.
Thank you, Paulina. And we have Mehmet Şirin. Mehmet Bey, duyabiliyor musunuz? What is your hope? What is your expectation from COP27?
I think one of the did you hear, are you hearing my voice? I think.
Hear you.
Okay.
Yes, now it's
So one of the expectation I think is that to support a global baseline for international standards, I think, for disclosure about sustainability, because really there are many frameworks around the world, and the for companies it's a problem to choose which reporting framework they should make about the disclosures. So as a regulators, and not only Turkish regulator, but global regulators should coordinate and try to help the companies to establish a global baseline for disclosures. And we also think not only reporting, but also help companies to find the ways that how they integrate the sustainability mindset into daily operation of companies. So if we just fill the reporting area, it is not the problem, or it is not the solution for companies, but we also give ways to companies to integrate the sustainability mindset into daily operations, into strategies and in other company operations. If we succeed that process, I think we will also success in reporting. And my last word is we should establish a global baseline for disclosure of sustainability. Thank you. Is there any?
Yes. Mehmet Bey, there's only one baseline. It comes from ISSB. You have to adopt all local standards based of ISSB. This is Nadidi's message for you. So, I have to close this session. I'm so sorry. My hope is that being together next year and to talk how to do our homework. You know, for that we need strong and sincere collaboration instead of just hiding something, just showing just for doing something. You know. So I'm hoping that we will be together next year. Just promise. And at COP28 to talk. Yes, we did it. We are on the right track. We are on the right way. We know what we are doing, which is very important. We are not doing just for doing. You know, implementation is something like that. So thank you for all effort, all time. Thank you. Thank you very much.